The Jaguars started the season poorly, losing 3 games they could have won, including a close loss in Houston. Coach Doug Peterson criticized his players for not scoring more, despite having chances. The team struggled in the fourth quarter, losing a 3-point lead and making mistakes that cost them games. So far, the Jaguars have missed many opportunities, making it difficult to turn their season around. There's no way to sugarcoat an 0-4 start to the season. Panthers coming in at 31. Putting Bryce Young on the bench was a good move as Andy Dalton performed well against the Bengals, leading the team and even handling a tipped pass interception. Dalton managed to limit sacks and create more opportunities for receivers like Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette to shine. Johnson almost scored a touchdown on the first drive but has been more effective with Dalton. The team's running game has also improved, though the Bengals' defense has been a challenge. Overall, the Panthers are doing better with Dalton at center, despite still being in the early stages of rebuilding. Perhaps the lowest point of the Dolphins' defeat to the previously unbeaten Titans on Monday occurred when cameras focused on Mike McDaniel's expressionless, icy face with the team behind 22-6 in the fourth quarter. Tyreek Hill was a few steps behind him, barking at everyone who would listen. Jordan Poyer had just been officially declared out of the game with injury. Miami's 1-3 record does not have fans optimistic. We have New England Patriots going down to 29. Despite the recent painful offensive struggles in the last 3 games, I believe it's still the right decision to stick with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback. Why? Well, we can't really assess how Drake May is progressing from the outside, but the Patriots have the inside scoop, and considering their current issues with pass protection, it doesn't seem logical to switch to May. In the game against the Niners on Sunday, Brissett was sacked 6 times and faced numerous hits. The offense is clearly struggling. What does this indicate? If the New England defense doesn't provide excellent field position, the offense's chances of scoring are significantly diminished. The surprising victory over Cincinnati in Week 1 seems like a distant memory. Cleveland Browns ranking down to 28. In the last 4 games, the offense has failed to exceed 18 points, and the defense, which was once known as one of the best in the league, can't claim the same reputation in 2024. Despite taking a 10-0 lead, Cleveland allowed the Raiders, who were missing several key players, including Davante Adams, to score 4 times in their next 5 drives. Although the Browns managed to regroup and create an opportunity to get back in the game, with a fourth-quarter scoop and score, the offense couldn't step up. A third-quarter interception off Amari Cooper's hands was painful, and having Cooper's 82-yard touchdown called back due to a questionable holding penalty was a devastating setback in Sunday's defeat. At the moment, this team isn't equipped to overcome these types of mistakes. New York Giants ranking up to 27. The increase in ranking is mainly due to teams adjusting their positions relative to the Giants. We'll keep a close eye on Malik Nabers, as they prepare for a challenging game against the Seahawks. Despite delivering an impressive performance last Thursday, Nabers had to exit the game, due to a concussion sustained during a play in which he missed a potential 4th down catch. The Giants heavily rely on the rookie star for their offensive plays, and Daniel Jones has shown improvement since his disappointing performance in Week 1. It's concerning to think about this unit without Nabers at the moment. The upcoming games will determine whether the Giants can demonstrate more competitiveness and achieve something in 2024. Tennessee Titans ranking up to 26. With their first win of the season and a strong defensive effort against a Dolphins offense severely lacking at quarterback, the Titans cruised into their bye week. Tennessee will accept it, having appeared to regress defensively in each of the first 3 games. However, the health of quarterback Will Levis, who was sidelined in the first half due to a shoulder injury, may be the more important story. Before leaving, he still managed to sneak in his weekly turnover, but Mason Rudolph, the backup, filled in admirably, if not spectacularly. If Rudolph had been on fire, there may have been a juicy bye-week tale, but Tennessee's defense's main contribution to this victory was limiting Miami to 3.4 yards per play. Cardinals ranking down to 25. When playing at their peak this season, the Cardinals have demonstrated that they can compete with some of the league's top clubs. When they are at their worst, they don't look like a playoff team. The offense needs to figure out how to build on early momentum since, notwithstanding the Rams game, it usually starts well and fades as the game progresses. On defense, though, Sunday's performance was terrible. For the most of the game, the Commanders controlled the ball, with receivers having unrestricted access to the secondary and backs frequently spotting enormous openings to run through. I have given Jonathan Gannon a lot of credit since he assumed the position, but now it's time to pay it forward. With a 3-1 record, the Cardinals have a difficult October schedule. Raiders ranking at 24. With the biggest issue on defense being, getting home. Sure, the Raiders' nail-biting victory over the Browns on Sunday was sealed by reserve edge rusher Chris Snowden's last-second tackle of quarterback Deshaun Watson. However, in 4 games, it was only Las Vegas' 8th sack of the season, sharing 5th fewest in the NFL. To be fair, Max Crosby missed the Browns game due to a left high ankle sprain, and starting defensive end Malcolm Kuntz was gone for the season due to a knee injury before the season's opening. But more needs to be done. Los Angeles Rams ranking at 23. With the biggest issue on defense being, defending the run. The Rams had plenty of chances to take control of Sunday's game, despite missing their top 2 wide receivers, and 2 starting offensive linemen. The reality is that they settled for too many field goals, and missed one, and gave away points with turnovers, which quashed all the feel-good momentum gained in a season-saving win in Week 3. The pass rush potential of this team has me a little excited, but the defense's difficulties stopping the run, and making game-changing plays have really cost Los Angeles. Chicago Bears ranking up to 22. Biggest issue on defense, run defense. Since the Bears' defense has been excellent, any problems will probably be fixed with tweaks rather than drastic adjustments. Chicago, which finished first in 2023 against the run, is giving up 4.5 yards per carry, and 121 running yards per game, which is good for 18th and 10th place, respectively. Even though the Bears have only given up one 100-yard rusher, Jonathan Taylor in Week 3, and have had difficulty stopping Kieran Williams, 5.0 yards per carry in Week 4, improving their run defense will help Matt Eberflus' team move closer to its objective of finishing in the top 5. Cincinnati Bengals ranking in at 21. The biggest issue on defense being, the defensive line. The defense got off to a good start with a 4th and goal stop on the opening drive, and an interception on the second. But Cincinnati ended up in a 4-quarter fight, allowing too many Carolina conversions, keeping it a close game, until a late field goal salted it away. The offense shares some of the blame, too, with its second-half miscues. But Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase found their mojo again, and Chase Brown broke out for his best all-around game as a pro. Also a special hat tip to rookie Eric All Jr., who looks like a 4th-round steal. He had 4 catches on 4 targets, converted 2 second-half first downs and made his presence felt as a blocker. The Bengals remain behind the sticks this season, so to speak, but Sunday kept their dim hopes alive. Denver Broncos ranking up at 20. Their biggest issue on defense is consistency against the run. This is a minor quibble, because the run defense has improved after giving up over 140 rushing yards in Denver's opening 2 games. However, the Broncos know 12 rush defense ranking is concerning when compared to their performance in other areas. They lead the NFL in sacks per pass attempt and rank among the top 4 in red zone defense, total defense, passing defense, and third down defense. Although Vance Joseph's team has improved over the last 2 games, giving up just 155 rushing yards, greater progress will make the Broncos even more potent than they already are. Atlanta Falcons ranking up with a 2 wins 2 losses record. With their biggest issue on defense being, getting off the field. The Falcons will take a win over the rival Saints any chance they can get, especially when it comes in dramatic fashion, and we should expect nothing less at this point. That's now 4 games this season that came down to the final minute for Atlanta. Offensive touchdowns are still hard to come by, and the Falcons aren't likely going to win too many more games this season, where they score 0 of those. Give the defense credit for making big stops, but Atlanta has to figure out how to be more consistently explosive. Los Angeles Chargers ranking down to 19 with 2-2 record. With their biggest issue on defense being, absent stars. Despite not having Joey Bosa, Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt or Derwin James, and with Justin Herbert hobbled, the Chargers were in a position to seize control late against the Chiefs. Herbert struggled after a hot start. The offensive line was overwhelmed much of the day, erasing the run game. And the receivers only made a few plays of note. The Chargers can rally from this after a well-timed Week 5 bye, but they're noticeably lacking in big play pop right now. Dallas Cowboys ranking at number 17. 2-2. Their biggest issue on defense is stopping the run. The Cowboys can't keep living this high-wire life every game, especially without the benefit of a difference-making ground attack. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb can rally this team, but it's going to be some heavy lifting these next 2 weeks before the bye. Parsons has never missed a game at any level of football before, so you know he's not in great shape right now if he's a question mark for Sunday. Indianapolis Colts ranking up to 16 from last week. 2-2. With their biggest issue on defense being third down defense. Stopping teams on third down continues to be an issue. Statistically, the Colts have been one of the worst third down units, allowing a 49.2% conversion rate. The practical impact of this was evident during Sunday's win over the Steelers when the Colts allowed QB Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh offense to convert 5 of 8 third down attempts. That helped erase a 17-3 halftime lead and turned a lopsided affair into a close game. Fields was 4 of 5, 80%, for 43 passing yards and a touchdown on third downs in the second half. New York Jets ranking in today at number 15. 2-2 record. Their biggest issue on defense is only one interception. The Jets have an effective pass rush, 14 sacks, and play good pass defense, so they should have more than one pick. The only player with an interception is backup nickelback Brandon Eccles, who made his play as an injury replacement in Week 2. None of the regulars has an interception, including All-Pro cornerback Sauce Gardner, whose drought is up to 28 games. New Orleans Saints ranking in at number 14. Also a 2-2 record. Their biggest issue on defense, last-minute mistakes. The Saints' defense has made critical mistakes late in the past 2 games. Players ran into each other and allowed a 61-yard gain by the Eagles with 1:13 left in Week 3's contest, setting up Philadelphia's winning touchdown. And while the D gave up only 12 points in Sunday's loss to the Falcons, a 30-yard defensive pass interference penalty set up the winning 58-yard field goal. Philadelphia Eagles ranking in at number 13. Their biggest issue on defense being edge rushers. The defensive group entered Week 4 with 0 sacks, and finally got on the board with takedowns by Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat against Tampa Bay. The Eagles signed Bryce Huff to a 3-year, $51 million contract in free agency to be an impact 3-down player, but he hasn't been reliable against the run, in particular. Barring a significant uptick in play from Huff, or 2023 first-round pick Nolan Smith Jr., this unit could be an issue all season. San Francisco 49ers ranking in at number 12. Their biggest issue on defense is simply third down defense. The 49ers did a much better job of getting off the field on third down against New England, but they are going to see much better offenses and have to find a way to get stops consistently. The Niners ranked 26th in the NFL in third down conversions allowed, 46%. What's worse is that their last and third and long, 7+ yards, conversions yielded, 50%, Nick Wagoner. Seattle Seahawks ranking in at number 11, with 3 wins and 1 loss. Their biggest issue on defense is lack of takeaways. Before a rash of injuries up front caught up to the Seahawks on Monday night at Detroit, their defense had been among the best in the NFL, allowing the 4th fewest points over the first 3 weeks. The one area that has been consistently lacking is takeaways. Seattle has forced only 3 takeaways despite facing a soft quarterback schedule and generating plenty of pass rush. Pittsburgh Steelers ranking at number 11 with a 3-1 record. Their biggest issue on defense is giving up chunk passing plays. The Steelers gave up 6 passing plays of 15 yards, or more to Indianapolis on Sunday, including 4 in the first half, after allowing only 12 such plays through the first 3 weeks. Prior to that Week 4 loss, the Steelers were limiting opponents to 8.6 points per game. but they yielded 27 points to the Colts by giving up large chunk plays. Green Bay Packers ranking in at number 9. Their biggest issue on defense, affecting the quarterback. While the Packers have pressured opposing quarterbacks 49 times, 6th most in the NFL through Week 4, according to ESPN research, they're not necessarily moving those signal callers off the spot, or speeding up their release. Passers have averaged 2.71 seconds inside the pocket, the most in the league, and they're averaging 3.04 seconds before throwing, second most in the league. Green Bay's pass rush win rate of 27.3% is the lowest in the league. Tampa Bay Buccaneers ranking in at number 8 with a 3-1 record. Their biggest issue on defense is consistent pressure. Up until Week 4, the Buccaneers had just 2 sacks, the fewest in the NFL. They generated 6 in their 33-16 victory over the Eagles, but that was against a team that allowed QB Jalen Hurts to get hit 44 times in the first 3 games. Will it continue? The Bucs certainly got more push up the middle with the return of defensive tackle Vita Vea, who was out for 1 game to deal with an MCL injury, but they're still without 2023 first-round draft pick Khalija Kancey, calf. Washington Commanders ranking up at number 7 with 3 wins and 1 loss. Their biggest issue on defense is the run defense. Washington ranks 31st in yards per carry, 5.3, and 27th in yards per game, 357, allowed. In the past 3 outings combined, it has allowed 5.9 yards per carry. Gaps have been too wide, as tackles are getting nudged out, or others are trying to avoid blocks. And at times, the edge isn't being set strong enough to force running backs outside. The good news for Washington is that in the next 6 weeks it plays only 2 teams, Baltimore, no. 1, and Pittsburgh, no. 10, ranked in the top 10 in rushing. Baltimore Ravens ranking in at number 6. Their biggest issue on defense may be giving up big passing plays. The Ravens have allowed an NFL worst 10 completions on passes that have traveled at least 20 yards in the air. Teams have been forced to stretch the field because Baltimore has jumped out to big leads early. But these big passing plays have enabled foes to cut their deficits. This shouldn't be a season-long problem for Baltimore. Houston Texans ranking in at number 5. Their biggest issue on defense can be the safeties in coverage. Houston's safeties are getting picked on by opposing offenses. The Texans run cover 4 on 34% of first and second downs. So teams run play action to make the safeties cover vertical routes, which is part of why the Texans have allowed the second most yards off play action on early downs, 337. Also, foes are putting their better wide receivers in the slot to match them up against those safeties. That group has given up 4 touchdowns in coverage, according to NFL Next Gen Stats. Buffalo Bills ranking in at number 4. Their biggest issue on defense is maintaining the scheme with backups. After the Bills survived, with many backups through the first 3 weeks, their defensive shortcomings were exposed by Baltimore. The Ravens forced the Bills out of their preferred nickel package, and everything went downhill with 3 backup linebackers on the field. The Ravens rushed for 217 yards before contact, which was the most the Bills had allowed in a game since 2012. The Bills should expect other teams to force them out of their scheme, and they'll need to adjust accordingly. Detroit Lions ranking in at number 3 with 3 wins and 1 loss. Their biggest issue on defense would be limiting QB efficiency. Although the Lions' pass coverage has allowed only 4 touchdowns this season, Detroit's defense could improve at lowering opponents' QBR, 55.6 through 4 games, which ranks 22nd in the league. In Week 1, Matthew Stafford completed 34 of 49 passes for 317 yards and a touchdown. Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn said they plan on improving every week, which they'll have to do after surrendering 29 points against Seattle. Kansas City Chiefs ranking in at number 2 with 4 wins and 0 losses. Chiefs' biggest issue on defense would be the pass rush outside of Chris Jones. Other than Jones, the Chiefs aren't getting enough pressure on the opposing quarterback. They have sacks on just 5.2% of opponents' pass attempts, ranking near the bottom of the league. George Karlaftis and Mike Dana were productive pass rushers last season, but they have just 1.5 sacks between them this season. Jones had both of the Chiefs' sacks in last week's win over the Chargers. Minnesota Vikings ranking it at the top of the league in the number 1 spot, with 4 wins and 0 losses. Past Vikings outfits might have coughed this one up, but this team showed toughness, and reinforced the idea that it's going to be a handful all season with the way things are going. Brian Flores' defense has been one of the NFL's best stories this season, and there are no glaring issues. But after the group allowed 22 points in the fourth quarter to the Packers, it's worth thinking about age and snap counts. So far this season, the Vikings defense has played the league's third most defensive snaps, 272.